boy who sold cigarettes just to survive had somehow clawed his way to boxing's biggest stage.
That brother came in as a potential star. Right now it looks like Pacquiao may go out as the star.
You witnessed the upset.
A superstar emerges in San Antonio.
The breakthrough.
Hard left hand, straight on the button by Pacquiao. Down goes Barrera.
And the way he seized his biggest moment.
It's a TKO victory for the very impressive Manny Pacquiao, who takes a good fighter and just takes him apart with power shots.
But really, he'd only just arrived at his starting line. But this is not the story of his origins. This is a story of evolution and domination.
And since that time, he has evolved from being essentially a double jab left cross fighter to a guy who can do anything.
The story of rivals who shaped him and legacies that defined him. A story of absolute prime and a rise that pushed him past what anyone thought he could be.
And if the question was, how good could Pacquiao look in his first fight as a lightweight? The answer is, better than you might have believed.
This is a story of an underdog on the path to making history.
And now winner of his 8th World Championship, the fighting pride of Sarangani Province, Philippines, Manny Pacquiao.
I would have to call him an all-time great.
In 2003, Pacquiao had walked into San Antonio as the 4-1 underdog and left as a hero after defeating Mexico's pride in Barrera. And that success brought something Manny had never truly dealt with before. Fame.
A superstar emerges in San Antonio.
His simpler schedule became a whirlwind of never-ending commitments. Presidential meetings, magazine shoots, movie offers, and commercial deals were flooding in from every direction. For someone who had spent most of his life in poverty, this new world of celebrity status was completely uncharted territory. But you know, the thing about fame is that it's comforting, almost lulling. I mean, he started boxing out of desperation and a need to provide for his family, and the fight with Barrera just earned him the biggest payday of his career. At this point in Manny's career, he could probably afford to slow down a little before diving into another war. And yet, just 6 months later, Pacquiao risked his newfound stardom to fight one of the most dangerous men in the division. Juan Manuel Marquez, the unified WBA and IBF featherweight champion. But here's the thing. Despite all those credentials, he still hadn't captured mainstream recognition. At least not in the way Morales and Barrera had. And here's what makes it even more interesting. He'd been Naseem Hamed's mandatory challenger for 22 straight months. The same guy Barrera dismantled and one of his most celebrated victories. And yet somehow, that fight never materialized. Heck, even Freddie Roach admits that Marquez is a pretty dangerous matchup for Pacquiao. But despite that, Pacquiao went ahead and challenged Marquez anyway. And let's just say that when you put two hungry fighters in a ring together, things can get explosive pretty fast. Again, in just a few seconds, and then a third time, all in the first round. By the end of the first round, yet somehow, in the following rounds, Marquez didn't just survive, he started fighting back.
After a blazing and glorious first round in which Pacquiao knocked Marquez down 3 times, Marquez may be within range of coming back to win the fight.
What should have been a blowout became a war that went the distance, and both fighters gave it everything they had. When the final bell rang, both fighters had their hands raised, each convinced of their own victory. And that is when things got controversial. After a fight like that, a draw satisfied nobody. Pacquiao must have thought those 3 knockdowns should have sealed his win. And Marquez, on the other hand, must have thought his comeback earned him the victory. Later on, Judge Burt Clements would admit to a scoring error that would have swayed the scorecards in Pacquiao's favor.
favor what Stewart said. To me, the biggest controversy, Manny, is that Judge Burt Clements scored the first round 10-6 or 10-7 instead of 10-6. If he scores at 10-6, which is the norm, Pacquiao wins the fight by a point.
But maybe in hindsight, that messy ending was a gift to boxing. Because that night, both fighters left with unfinished business. Unfinished business that would give birth to one of the fiercest rivalries in modern boxing. While an immediate rematch with Marquez would have made perfect sense, negotiations between the two camps collapsed. This left Pacquiao's team looking for another high-profile opponent, and that's when another fighter stepped in. He fought in a slightly higher weight class but had bigger star power at the time. If Pacquiao wanted to cement his place in mainstream boxing, he couldn't ask for a more perfect bout than this guy. This is the fighter who'd gone to war with Marco Antonio Barrera in some of the most brutal. Morales convincingly won in a unanimous decision. The loss to Morales was a painful, public reality check. It's as though he was exposed as a one-dimensional fighter. So in his fight against Pirang, aka 3K Battery, even before facing Morales, Pacquiao was already working on it. In round 6, a perfectly timed right hand rocked Velasquez, and Pacquiao pounced with a barrage of punches to ring with Eric Morales. And right from the opening rounds, both fighters came out firing. It was truly a continuation of their bloody battle from the first fight. Exchanges, completely unlike the Warrior who always fired back. On November 18th, 2006, the two Warriors faced off one last time in a fight that many expected to be another long and bloody fight. But unlike the previous two fights, this bout wouldn't go the distance. Pacquiao swarmed him with punches that put him down for the second time. Just settled things with Morales. But someone else wanted their shot at redemption. The same man who'd launched Pacquiao to stardom back in 2003 was back for a rematch. But this time, Barrera had a plan. Box smart and don't give Pacquiao any openings. And it worked. Well, sort of. The fight became a tactical chess match instead of a slugfest like the previous fight. But even when Barrera got exactly what he wanted, Pacquiao was still winning the rounds. Nearly 4 years had passed since San Antonio, and clearly the fighter in front of him had evolved. More skilled, more intelligent, but just as dangerous. And while Barrera was fighting not to lose, some might say he was not fighting to win either.
Barrera said he had a plan A, a plan B, and a plan C. I'm looking for plan D here, which is just to attack and take his chance.
As it turned out, plan D never came. In the 11th round, Barrera even threw an illegal punch. Maybe out of frustration, maybe desperation. Either way, the fight went the full 12 rounds, but the outcome was never really in question. All three judges scored it in a lopsided, unanimous decision for Pacquiao. At this point, Pacquiao was cleaning out every great Mexican fighter in his path. Well, so on March 15th, 2008, he stepped back into the fire to settle the score. But this is Marquez we're talking about, and he was no ordinary opponent. This was a test, not just of Manny's skill, but of his heart.
He's got history on his plate, and I'm looking to stop history.
Diaz was a former Olympian with the heart of a lion. Tough, determined, and never one to back down. And
Already Pacquiao has brought blood from Diaz.
Round after round.
Down he goes, merciful. Finally, the merciful knockout we were talking about.
Yes, it was.
After the fight, Pacquiao's performance made it clear.
How good could Pacquiao look in his first fight as a lightweight? The answer is better than you might have believed.
And with this victory, he made a compelling case for the #1 pound-for-pound status.
Welcome to the lightweight division.
Manny Pacquiao was sensational tonight.
But as dominant as he looked at lightweight, it was just the beginning of his ascent. And the next challenge wasn't next door, it was 2 floors up. And waiting there was one of the biggest names in boxing.
The fact that he said he can knock me out, and I think the fact that Freddie Roach, who trained me for Mayweather Jr., says I cannot pull the trigger anymore. Okay, well let's see what's going to happen December.
That was De La Hoya's motivation in his upcoming fight against Pacquiao. But you know what's crazy? Not long ago, nobody would have thought this could happen.
And Larry, when you first mentioned to a boxing writer a year ago that this might be a viable matchup, it was widely dismissed in the sport as a fantasy.
You see, to make this fight happen, Pacquiao had to go up 2 weight classes, while De La Hoya had to go down at a 145-pound catchweight. Yet, on December 6th, 2008, boxing got something it rarely sees. 2 superstars willing to meet across a massive weight difference. But at the same time, many fans saw an obvious mismatch. Sure, De La Hoya was past his prime, but the size difference was massive compared to a small fighter like Manny. After all, weight divisions exist for a reason. And despite being past his peak, Oscar was still considered one of boxing's elite fighters. I mean, this guy is the first boxer in history to win world titles in 6 different weight divisions and has fought legends like Julio Cesar Chavez, Felix Trinidad, and Bernard Hopkins. So he was definitely someone who could hurt Pacquiao in a weight class he'd never been before. Even Filipinos back
then, after Bob Arum had just called me up and asked me if we wanted to fight Oscar with Pacquiao, and I said, no, he's too big, and I hung the phone up.
But after some thinking, Freddie Roach actually became one of the biggest advocates for making this fight happen. See, Freddie had trained Oscar before, for about 8 weeks leading up to the Mayweather fight. And though Oscar lost, it was a close split decision. He'd proven he could still compete with the best fighters. But Freddie had also seen Oscar's weaknesses up close. And the more he thought about it, the more he realized Manny's style could exploit them.
I'm thinking about and dreaming about the fight in the sparring with the little guy who's a southpaw and really fast, like Manny Pacquiao. And I said, 2 o'clock in the morning, I picked the phone up and I called Bob Arum. I said, Bob, I says, make that fight happen.
When fight night came, Freddie's game plan was simple. Exploit exactly what he'd seen. And what followed was, well...
And if round 1 was mostly Manny Pacquiao, round 2 is even more so.
And it only got worse from there.
Many experts wondered why Pacquiao took the fight. Looking at the first 4 rounds, you have to wonder why De La Hoya took the fight.
As the fight went on, it became more and more clear that Oscar couldn't handle Pacquiao's speed.
Anything, Emmanuel. He's getting hit with virtually every shot that Pacquiao throws.
This was becoming a one-man show, a total domination.
Manny Pacquiao is annihilating Oscar De La Hoya. And in the 7th round, De La Hoya has 0 answers for the Pacquiao assault.
And by the end of round 8, Oscar looked battered, and the fight wasn't competitive anymore.
Pacquiao is making De La Hoya look old, slow, ineffectual, as though he is a sparring partner.
So Oscar's corner had made a decision.
We're going to stop it. Better we stop it. It's our decision, Oscar. It's a decision that we have to take. There's no reason to continue with this. He's too fast. Are you okay? Are you with that? You agree? Yes.
Manny Pacquiao has beaten Oscar De La Hoya.
And it was the right thing to do.
That night, Manny turned a mismatch into a masterful performance that would become one of the highlights of his legacy. But perhaps the most powerful moment wasn't about the punches or violence. It was about the ultimate sign of respect.
Just to repeat the exchange I just heard, Manny said to Oscar, "You're still my idol." And Oscar said to Manny, "No, now you're my idol."
After retiring the Golden Boy, Pacquiao had become boxing's hottest name. He was in his absolute prime and recognized as the best pound-for-pound fighter in the world. But in boxing, the questions never stop. Others question if Manny could truly live up to the flattery of being this generation's Henry Armstrong. Because beating an aging Oscar was one thing, but what would happen if he faced a prime champion in his natural weight class? To find out, Manny dropped back down to the 140-pound division. And the man waiting for him was the current lineal champion of the super lightweight division, Ricky the Hitman Hatton. Now, sure, Ricky Hatton had suffered a devastating knockout loss to Floyd Mayweather Jr. just over a year prior. But he had moved up to welterweight for that fight, his first time in the division, while Floyd had been fighting there since 2005. Pacquiao, on the other hand, would be facing a different Hatton, one fighting at 140 pounds, his natural weight class, coming off a TKO victory just months earlier. It was a war between the corners, too. For this camp, Hatton had replaced his longtime trainer with the father of the man who beat him, Floyd Mayweather Sr. And Floyd Sr. brought more than just a new defensive strategy. He brought a relentless barrage of trash talk. He dismissed Pacquiao's skills, claiming he threw punches like an amateur.
And throw his hands straight forward like an amateur, then you're going to find out that speed ain't really what y'all think it is. It's the way you use it, and everything's about timing anyway.
He also delivered his predictions in rhyme.
Come May 2nd, you will be uncrowned with your head hanging down, and pain and stress left to confess that the hitman is the best. So let's make it simple and plain. After this fight, you will never be the same.
And he even gave Freddie Roach a new nickname, the Joke Coach Roach.
Freddie the Joke Coach Roach got a mule. This right here, this is an Italian stallion. They ain't gonna be able to stand up under that.
Hatton himself bought into the confidence, even mocking Manny's style during HBO's promotional coverage.
Same move every time. Right hook, roll under. Right hook, roll under. Right hook, spin off. Just give him something to spin off onto.
Freddie Roach, meanwhile, tuned out the theatrics. He and assistant Michael Moore locked themselves in the film room, dissecting the tapes to find a pattern they could exploit.
He goes back to his old ways. All the things that they learned in the gym, it's not evident here.
And regarding the insults coming from the other corner? Well, Freddie's message to Mayweather Sr. was pretty simple.
I don't care how good he is or how good he says he is, I have a better fighter.
In fact, Freddie was so confident that he made a bold prediction. Pacquiao would knock Hatton out within 3 rounds. But on May 2nd, 2009, the talking stopped, and it is now all about the fighters. Hatton came out aggressive, trying to pressure and bully Pacquiao with physical strength. But almost immediately he realized that the right hook he mentioned was no joke, because in the middle of round 1, he walked right into it.
And down goes Hatton after he swings and misses with a left hook. Here's the first knockdown, Emmanuel.
Right hook as he was coming in, never saw it. And what's amazing, to see him land a punch and then slip a punch all at the same time shows unbelievable coordination.
Hatton beat the count, but the fight was already slipping away. And Manny, sensing he was hurt, immediately closed the distance, overwhelming him with a barrage that put him on the canvas again before the round could end.
He's down for the second time. This is the brilliance of the Filipino slugger.
Hatton survived the round, but the confidence in his corner was replaced by a frantic attempt to get Ricky to remember his training and stick to the game plan.
You heard Floyd Mayweather saying to Hatton, you can't just jump all over him. You've got to move your head. You've got to think. You've got to do the things we talked about in training camp. Hatton seemed to believe that he could physically overpower Pacquiao from the beginning.
So the second round started slower, with Hatton trying to box smart. But even then, Pacquiao was outboxing him. And then, with less than 10 seconds left in the round, Pacquiao found his opening. A perfectly timed left hook caught Hatton mid-charge and ended the fight right then and there.
Oh my gosh, what a straight left hand. And will Hatton make it up from this?
It was such a scary scene that Kenny Bayless, the referee, didn't even bother to count. Freddie predicted the fight would end in 3 rounds. Manny ended it in 2. But beyond just being right, it proved something bigger.
He's more of a complete fighter now than I ever expected him to be.
But the climb wasn't over yet. And waiting was Miguel Cotto, one of the elite welterweights looking to reclaim his throne. Cotto was considered by many to be the best welterweight in the world at the time, a methodical pressure fighter who could box and brawl. His only loss had come against Antonio Margarito, a fight later tainted by controversy over illegal hand wraps. And unlike Manny's previous opponents, he wasn't intimidated by the speed. In fact, he was defiant. He trained for speed and was confident he could match Pacquiao, or at least handle his speed. And this isn't just talk. He already battled and won against speedy boxers before.
You don't forget, Cotto has been in with speed fighters. He's been with judo, with Mosley, and he's been able to deal with their speed. Pacquiao, to my knowledge, hasn't had to fight a fighter with the speed that he's having experience now.
Pacquiao, on the other hand, isn't fazed by any of this. For him, this was a chance to make history. On November 14, 2009, both fighters stepped into the ring with the welterweight title on the line. Interestingly, the betting odds had Pacquiao as a heavy 3-1 favorite coming into the fight. But when the bell rang, this didn't seem to be a quick demolition like what Pacquiao did against Hatton or De La Hoya. Cotto's stiff jab was making a difference, and this was looking like a close and competitive fight.
Well, it doesn't look like a 3-1 fight right now, does it, guys?
Not at all. I thought those odds were preposterous from the beginning.
But in the early seconds of round 3, Pacquiao found a home for a short right hook on the inside, sending Cotto down for the first time.
Pacquiao moving forward for the first time in the third round.
Beautiful counter shot by Pacquiao.
Yeah, here comes it. He goes. And that's a bad break for the champion.
Cotto got up and, to his credit, actually came back strong for the rest of the round. If anything, the knockdown seemed to wake him up. And in the fourth round, he was actually putting in good work. He was more assertive, landing some shots, and he seemed more eager to be on the offense. The commentators even thought Cotto was arguably winning the round. Well, until the final seconds.
Something big. Now it's Cotto. His back is against the rope, and he fights his way off and goes down again.
This time, Cotto looks hurt. As the rounds went on, Cotto became more bloodied and battered.
Could turn into a systematic baiting unless the champion could turn things around. And now he's wobbled badly and holding on. As Pacquiao launched a furious assault.
And by the late rounds, it wasn't a fight anymore. Cotto was absorbing punishment and was on constant retreat. The punishment was so severe that Cotto's wife, Melissa, couldn't bear to watch. She grabbed their son and walked out of the arena while the fight was still going on.
Cotto trapped in a corner, and following this exchange, if you want to call it an exchange, this assault by Pacquiao, Melissa Cotto, wife of Miguel, closed her eyes and moments later left the arena, taking her son with her.
But despite the punishment, even bloodied and battered, Cotto wasn't going to quit. So in round 12, referee Kenny Bayless made the decision for him. He stopped the fight at the earliest signs of trouble, and it was probably for Cotto's own good.
Now Kenny Bayless does his duty.
That night, Manny Pacquiao didn't just beat a welterweight champion. He became the first fighter in boxing history to win world titles in 7 different weight divisions. Larry Merchant summed it up perfectly.
We thought Manny Pacquiao was great. He's better than we thought.
After dismantling Cotto and claiming his 7th world title, Manny Pacquiao stood alone at the summit. Well, almost alone. There was still one name everybody kept bringing up: Floyd Mayweather Jr. And by the end of 2009, the biggest fight in recent boxing history might actually happen. This could be the coronation of the best fighter of the era, or the birth of another awesome rivalry. And when the negotiations started, everyone was screaming for it to happen. But then, it quickly fell apart over drug testing disputes. The truth is, there's a lot more to that story than that simple explanation. And trust me, it gets really messy. But that's a story for another time. Instead of a historic fight, Manny took a detour to Cowboys Stadium to face Joshua Clottey. This was the same guy who gave Cotto real trouble, but ultimately lost in a narrow split decision. But against Pacquiao, he was mostly hiding behind his high guard and getting overwhelmed by combinations.
4-punch, 5-punch, 6-punch combination, body shot, bang, 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 bang. Try and stop it, bang,
Here I come. Bang! Do you want to throw sometime? Bang!
In this fight, Pacquiao unleashed more than 1,200 punches. For someone who's already one of the most active punchers in boxing, it's pretty impressive he actually more than doubled his usual output. On Claudie's part, I think he had a game plan, but just couldn't execute through that suffocating pace.
Yeah, because you see, he's fast and he's trying to, he's waiting for me to open, to counter me. That's why I'm taking my time.
It was a dominant, shutout victory. But at the same time, everyone knew Claudie was just a placeholder for the fight that didn't happen. But here's the funny thing. If that Mayweather fight had happened, Pacquiao might never have been motivated to do what he did next. Challenge a weight class he had absolutely no business messing with.
All right, Larry, you envisioned this one. Could you see Pacquiao against Margarito?
When Jim Lampley asked that to Larry Merchant back in the De La Hoya fight, I don't think many people took that seriously. Heck, I don't think even Pacquiao considered it as a possibility.
I think for me, definitely this is the last weight division that I'm going to fight. Even my trainer, he agreed for that because 154 is too big for me.
Yet, here we are, seeing Pacquiao trying to take a belt in a higher weight division. And maybe even make history capturing 8 titles in 8 different weight divisions. And standing in his way was Antonio Margarito. Now, aside from the sheer size of the guy, there was an uglier narrative brewing in the background. In the lead up to the fight, a video surfaced of Margarito and his camp appearing to mock Freddie Roach's Parkinson's disease.
What do you say about that? Hi, Freddie Roach. That's Freddie Roach right there. Manny Pacquiao.
It was disrespectful to say the least. And while Manny is usually the guy who smiles and waves, you have to wonder if that added a little extra fuel to the fire. And Freddie? He probably got mad. But he also got analytical. Freddie looked at the tape and made a prediction that, given the circumstances, sounded absolutely reckless and to some, maybe even delusional.
I saw your last 2 fights. I think Manny's gonna knock him out inside of 8 rounds.
Now, yes, that prediction sounds pretty crazy, because the size difference between these 2 fighters was absolutely staggering. At the weigh-in, Pacquiao came in at 144 pounds while Margarito hit exactly 150. And it gets even more lopsided. By fight night, Margarito had rehydrated to 165 pounds, and Pacquiao, on the other hand, weighed 148. Now, I think we're all used to Manny being the smaller guy, but this feels like pushing it beyond his limit. And the concerns didn't even stop there. See, Manny wasn't just a fighter anymore. He was now a congressman in the Philippines, and leading up to the fight, there were rumors that the distractions were catching up to him. Whispers of a weak training camp, that maybe, just maybe, he wasn't fully focused. So you have a distracted Pacquiao, moving up to a weight class he shouldn't be in, facing a giant who made it personal, and a trainer making promises that looked impossible to keep. On November 13th, 2010, Manny stepped into the ring and all of it was about to be put to the test. And right on the opening bell, Margarito tried to use that massive frame to his advantage. For the first few rounds, he was having some success with his jab, making Pacquiao work for every exchange. But even while Margarito was landing shots, Pacquiao was still clearly winning every round. However, the real concern was what might happen in the later rounds, because Pacquiao was taking shots too. And from a much bigger guy at that. But in round 4, Pacquiao seemed to have figured something out. He became more and more aggressive, while his punches were becoming more and more accurate. He was starting to dominate Margarito, and it was turning into a masterclass. But at the same time, it was far from over. With that size difference, one clean shot from Margarito could still change everything. And in round 6, it was looking like a real possibility.
Beautiful counter shots by Margarito.
Pacquiao got his hand wrapped on the rope, and Margarito hit him a pretty good shot.
Margarito not done, not going out without a fight.
Pacquiao got hit by a sickening body shot, and he looked visibly hurt. And to me, it feels like he was about to get dropped. But somehow, Pacquiao recovered and fought back. Unfortunately for Margarito, Manny took over from then on, throwing punch after punch to keep him at bay. And by the late rounds, Margarito's right eye was completely shut, and his orbital bone shattered. It got so bad that by the 11th round, Manny started looking at the referee, practically begging him to stop the fight.
And looks at Cole. How much punishment do you want him to take? That's what he's saying to Cole.
But the referee still let the fight continue. So in the 12th round, Manny did something you rarely see in boxing. Manny visibly took his foot off the gas, carrying Margarito to the final bell.
To a certain degree, it's a nod to Margarito's guts and courage for coming as far as he has. And Pacquiao is going to let him finish the fight.
And later in the interview, he had this to say about why he did that.
Boxing is not about killing each other. It's about entertainment to everybody.
And when the championship bell rang, it was a shutout. Manny Pacquiao had just captured his 8th world title.
And now he's the 154-pound world champion. To go along with the other 7, maybe we'll never see that in the history of boxing again. We certainly haven't seen it before.
At that moment, Manny had secured a record that might never be broken. Or at least, not for a very, very long time. But little did he know, he was about to enter the most brutal stretch of his career.